Welcome back, painting friends. Today we are going to paint a cute little bunny with cocoa. So colors you're going to need: teal, white, gray, black, red, and purple. I always keep my favorite 4 brushes with me: my 1-inch flat brush, my 10-6, and 1 round brush. Remember to have a cup of water and a rag for keeping those brushes clean. So let's get started. The background is going to be a very light teal color. So I'm just taking some white first and making some stripes of white on my canvas. Then I'm going to go in with that teal and just kind of brush these colors top to bottom until I get a background that I like. Take your brush, you can wipe it off, wash it off, set it aside. We are finished with that brush. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to go ahead and lay our bunny out because it's probably going to take 2 coats of white paint. So I've got my number 10 round brush and I'm going to grab just some white paint right here. Now my bunny face is going to start right here and it's going to have an oval to start out with. From there, I'm going to add another oval on the top. Well, I guess that's more like a bubble on the top. And then I'm going to add his little cute bunny ears in there. So I'm going to have his bunny ears just kind of going straight out. And all these look like our 2 curved lines that kind of connect. From there, I'm going to add in his body and his arms. So right down here from the bottom of his neck, I'm going to just make 2 little kind of curved lines that go out. Okay, these are going to be where his arms are going to be holding his coffee cup. But his backside is going to be bigger, so I'm just going to kind of make that a big rounded area right there. So when I go to paint this in, I want to make sure that I can kind of still see these lines. So I might throw a little bit of gray right in here just so that I can see where these little arm lines for his little bunny arms are going to go. But everything else I can paint in white. And if you need to give this 2 coats of white paint before you're ready to move on, that's totally fine. But go ahead and paint your entire bunny white. Okay, I've got 2 coats of white paint on my cute little bunny, so let's get moving. I'm going to take a lot of white paint on my number 6 round brush and just a little bit of red paint. You know what I'm going to do, right? Yeah, we got to add that little pink area right in here on each of these ears. Then I'll take just a little bit more white and put it right in the center just for a cute little highlight. From there, I'm going to take that gray paint and I'm going to add a gray outline just around the pink part of the ear. And then I'm going to take white paint and I'm going to go in and just kind of pull that gray out towards the edge. So little small brush strokes, taking that gray and kind of blending it out towards the edge of the ear. All right, moving down to his cute little bunny face, I'm going to grab my black paint and I'm going to put his eyes on here. Now his eyes are going to be kind of almond shaped. They're going to be out here towards the edge of his face. Surprise, I've never made this in a video, but we are going to edit the eyeballs because the way I originally did it, well, you can see what they look like. They look very grumpy. So I know this is in the middle of the video, totally fine. We're going to get it fixed right now. Here's how you're actually going to do the eyeballs because I had to cut it out of the first video because, well, he's grumpy. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint over them with white because they've got to go. Grumpy, grumpy, grumpy eyeballs got to go. Okay. So at this point, you've got a whole white space here. We are going to go ahead and fill in where these eyes are going to go. But before I do that, we're going to take some white and some gray paint. We're just going to add a little bit of texture over where these eyes are. Okay, now that those are done, I think that my eyes were too close the first time I made my video, so I'm actually going to take this black paint, I'm going to move my eyes further to the side, and I'm going to make them more rounded. So right over here, further to the side, I'm going to make rounded eyes. I do want them to have a small point at the top and a small point at the bottom. Also going to add a really nice highlight up here at the top of his nose. Okay, so back to the eyes. I'm going to add some eyelashes on here. These eyelashes are going to go right over the top of his eye. And then my highlight, I'm going to use the back of my brush with a large polka dot here on each eye. And then a smaller polka dot next to it. Wipe that brush off. I'm going to take a little bit of white paint and just outline just a small little line just right inside of his eye. I do think he looks significantly less grumpy now, and that was my goal. So let's zoom back out. I'm going to make a curved line like a smiley face. And I'm going to add a line straight down from there. And I'm going to add a line that goes the opposite direction. Okay, we're going to leave that guy alone for a little bit, let that dry before we add in those fun details up there. Let's go down here towards his body. So I'm going to take white and gray paint just underneath his chin. Probably make a line first. And I'm going to pull some of those lines down. And then I'm going to start to go in with just white paint and continue to pull those lines down. So I have gray on my first row, I've got white on my next row, and I'm just going to keep adding white as I kind of go down these arms. Now, if you want to have a little bit of gray in there, you can always go through and add some gray kind of everywhere to help brush it in. I wouldn't do a whole gray line, but if you just add a little bit of gray on there, then you can have more of a gray bunny. Ooh, I do think I like the gray bunny look. I was going to make it an all white bunny. Now I think I might want him to be gray. Now down here, we're going to make a little spot for where his legs are. So his knee kind of comes up and down right here. So I'm just going to make a little gray line that kind of comes down here to show you where his hips are and then where his belly is. So when I do that, I'm going to make this inside part a little darker gray. So I'm going to add quite a bit of gray on there, and then I'll go back in and do all that brushing in of colors. I'm just wiping my brush off. I'm going to go back in with just some white paint and get these hips. I don't know if this is going to work or not. If you've ever watched my videos, you know that sometimes I make it up as I go. I'm going to grab a little bit of teal to go right along this edge of his hips. I think I might like that. Going with that gray, maybe just make a couple little small gray lines kind of going around where his hips are. All right, let's add his coffee cup and his hands in while his face is still drying a little bit. So I do want his coffee cup to be red with a purple heart. So I've got my red paint on here, and I'm going to make the oval right here at the top. And then from there, I'm going to have that cup kind of come down with a big base to it. Now, I'm not going to add any handles on this cup. You look at my other critters with cocoa, they all have just a little bit different cups to them, so you can always change out what type of cup you want. Wipe that brush off. I'm going to take a little bit of white paint and add a small highlight to one side. And I just realized I forgot brown paint. So I am going to have to add some brown paint to my palette because, well, we need our hot chocolate color, right? So now that I've got my brown paint, I can add my hot cocoa right here in the middle. All right, let's go back up towards the top of our cute little rabbit, and we will get moving on. I'm going to zoom us into his face. Yes, right now he looks like a disgruntled bunny, but that is what we are about to fix. So white and gray paint, mostly white, a little bit of gray. We are going to go kind of up in this area right through here, making him look more angry as we do this. Way too much gray. Wipe off some of that gray. Let's go back in with just white on there. We're going to go around his eyes. Okay, so we're just going to go around this way, following all these brush strokes, kind of filling him in a little bit. Then when we go down on his face, we're going to start to make some lines that kind of pop off the sides of his face, but it's going to start right here towards the center, okay? We're going to have these lines coming down all the way to his nose and then kind of turning and going around to his cheeks and then kind of coming down this way. So those are the lines we're going to follow to fill in the bottom part of his face. We're gonna go back in with straight white, and from his nose up to the top of his head, we're gonna make a line of straight white just to kind of show you like where the top of that nose would be. And then I'm gonna take the smallest amount of red paint with a lot of white paint and make a very, very, very light pink color. And right here at the tip of his nose, I'm just going to kind of paint that in a very, very, very light pink color. Kind of brush that up a little bit too, so it just kind of disappears into his fur. Okay, let's look back at these eyes. I'm going to use the back of my brush with some white paint, and I'm going to make a large polka dot and then a small one. I'm also then going to take that brush with just a little bit of white paint on it, almost no white paint, and I'm going to do a small outline right here and right here. So it's almost like a V-shaped outline. I'm going to take this number 6 round brush and I'm going to flatten it. And when you flatten it, it gets really skinny. I'm going to put a little bit of black paint on it. And then right up here at the top, I'm just going to give him a couple of cute little eyelashes. All right, let's zoom out and finish up our bunny. I made a decision that he looks very angry, so watch what we're going to do. We're going to cover right over that angry mouth and we're going to let it dry, and we're going to give him a smile. I can't imagine a bunny smiling, but I've got to figure that out because he looks so angry. So we're going to come back to that. Welcome to How I Paint, guys. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of purple, a little bit of white, and I'm going to make my heart on his cocoa mug. And then I'm just going to take some regular white and add just a fun little highlight to that heart. Anywhere you want is really fine. I like to use my finger to add marshmallows, so a couple little finger dots of marshmallows on there. And then for his little hands, I'm going to kind of bring this arm around here and just put a couple of little bumps for where his hand is holding onto that mug. All right, let's get these cracks and creases figured out here. So I'm going to go in with a gray and white mix, and I'm just going to kind of brush in those lines so that it's mostly gray, a little bit of white mixed in there. And I can kind of brush that in towards the belly to have it look like a little shadow in there. Same thing up here, just kind of brush that in. All right, while we're waiting on this mouth mess up to dry, we're gonna go ahead and add our snowflakes. So you can add snowflakes just by polka dots, or if you wanna add some more detailed snowflakes, all you really need to do is get some white paint and you just start with like a cross or a plus sign, and then you can add all kinds of things. You can add points to them, you can add polka dots to them. You just have fun with them. Snowflakes are just fun to make. So have fun with your snowflakes. Make them any way you want. Use the back of your brush. Keep it simple. Just maybe add a couple of like starbursts in the sky. Any way you want is totally fine. All right, coming back up here to his mouth, I am going to take a little bit of black paint and I am going to kind of make that same triangle down, right? But then I'm going to make a smiley face on there. Fill that in, maybe with some darker gray. I don't want it to be black, but I'll add some black and gray together. Darker gray color. I'll fill that in with a darker gray color. Trying to get him not to look so angry. Maybe I can even add a little bit of red in there. Give him a little rosy complexion, you know? Then I'm going to take a little bit of gray paint and I'm going to make that, in fact, I'm going to mix gray and white together, light gray paint. And I'm just going to kind of round this up. Bunnies have that like little space right here that's kind of just connected. I think I'm going to take some white paint and fill that space in bright white. And I'll use the back of my brush with some gray paint and just add a couple of polka dots in there. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, actually there's two things I'm going to do. The last couple things I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black paint, water it down on my number 6 round brush. I'm going to do what I like to call a messy ghost outline. And that means that when I outline things, I'm not going to necessarily outline the whole thing, but I'm going to make like a gestural line around it. These cracks, the cup, all these things are going to have like a small gesture line to them. I think it's going to really help kind of bring our little guy out to life. I'm going to finish up these hands, give them a second coat of paint. That way I can give them a little bit of a messy outline too. And then if you wanted to add some steam coming up from your hot cocoa, because our animal is so light, I would probably take quite a bit of white paint with a little bit of light blue paint and mix those together. I like to water that paint down when I do it so it does look kind of steamy and smoky. And when you have that on there, you could just kind of take your lines up and just bring them up anywhere you want them to go. And there you have it. I guess we ended up with a grumpy bunny as it is. I do think he's cute, but he's definitely grumpy. So when you're finished, find a color that's going to show up on your canvas and sign your name. Remember that I never get to see what you're painting at home unless you post it to our Facebook page, Painting with a Purpose. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose, so you are kept up to date on all of the tutorials. And remember, as always, stay kind, stay creative, and stay safe. Have a great day, friends. Bye now.